A few days ago, I did a video about Gibson firing Randall Smith. If you don't know who Randall Smith is, he's the guy that built the entire brand of Mesa Boogie. Now, Gibson acquired Mesa Boogie a few years ago. Randall Smith is getting up in age and at the point to where he's just not likely going to be able to run the company anymore, so he decided to sell it. Nothing wrong with that. He had built it. He built an amazing brand, and there's nothing wrong with letting that go. For me, the whole point about Gibson firing Randall Smith, instead of letting him finish out the agreed upon contract time before he relinquished any control for Mesa Boogie over to Gibson, that was about a complete and utter lack of respect more than anything else. Yes, Randall I'm sure he made a lot of money from that sale. He deserves a lot of money. He built a business. Him and his team. And so ultimately, he has every right, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But that would be like somebody buying Marshall and firing Jim Marshall. That would be crazy. And it would be a complete and utter lack of respect and just makes no sense whatsoever. So I think that's what got a lot of people in ire. So when I started thinking about all these things, and I got a lot of comments in the comments section of that video, and for the most part, overwhelmingly, there's a ton of comments on that video, and they were all overwhelmingly in agreement with me. Yes, you'd have some naysayers, and naysayers have every right to have their opinion. Nothing with that whatsoever. We can agree to disagree. But of course, most of the naysayers didn't actually come in and make a point and make a decent argument. All they did was just take a pot shot at me. I got thick skin. Don't worry about it. You're wasting your time doing that with me because I could care less whether this channel's popular or not. I really could care less. I've got a really great day job. And I do this for fun. I also do it to help people. Most of the things I talk about on this channel are about the home studio recording market. That's what I talk about the most. And so I'm going to go over a couple of other things because if you think about it, Gibson is not the Gibson that most of us, at least those of us who are older, who've lived through the transition to Gibson, it's not the Gibson of yesterday. It's not. And there's one common denominator that I find when companies ultimately change course directions and destroy or take advantage of their customers. And that's when a private equity firm gets involved. Just look at what's happened to Guitar Center. They've been taken over multiple times. Guitar Center used to be one of my favorite stores to go to, okay? I can't stand walking in that store anymore. I can't stand it. They have been destroyed by the leeches and the bloodsuckers that are private equity. I was an avid Pro Tools HD/HDX user for decades, almost from the very beginning. It was a great company back then when it was called DigiDesign. But then ultimately a private equity firm comes in and buys them, and now it all goes to garbage again. And if you think that I only was critical of Gibson as an example, you should go back and look at some of my videos that I've done about Avid. Trust me, Avid is no fan of this guy, none whatsoever. And so when you see what an honest opinion, an honest person who says it honestly, who cannot be controlled, who cannot be dictated to, quite frankly, I cannot be canceled. Good luck, try it, see if it works for you. I can't be canceled because I simply don't care. I'm not beholden to any particular business. I celebrate businesses I think that do a great job, and ones that don't, I'm on them in a heartbeat. Mostly because I want them to change to do a better job for you and me. But I get it. Some people are just diehard fans. And so sometimes that causes the ability to be blind in your assessment. So let's just talk about some of the wonderful things that this great Gibson company has done. Let's talk about Dean Guitars. Before I do that, I had the owner of a company that you all know, okay? I'm sure you used their products many times over the decades, and I'm not going to mention who they are out of respect to them. That would not be right on my part. But they chimed in saying that they completely agreed with my assessment, and thank you for that very much. But ultimately, they also wanted to remind me of what happened with Dean Guitars and the Gibson lawsuit regarding that. Now, if you're not aware of it, Gibson sued Dean and basically forced them to stop making any guitar shaped like a Flying V or an Explorer type, right? And so they forced Dean to stop doing that, and they won in court. Well, a few months back, Dean won back on an appeal. And so the owner of this particular company that I'm talking about actually forwarded me the legal documents that were associated with that. They're all matter of public record. And if you go down to the description below, I'm going to upload those and you can read those for yourself and come to your own conclusions. But basically, to put it in what my mama would call cornbread English, just to simplify it, basically, the judge and the court system abused their power in favor of Gibson. They did not follow all of the proper protocols. And by doing that, ultimately, that's what enabled Gibson to win in their favor. Now, Dean appealed and won. So the issue is over. Now, if Gibson started making the Flying V and the Explorer back in the 50s, if I remember correctly, in the 50s, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. In the 50s, right? Dean started coming along and making that shape in the 70s. I believe Dean was founded around 1977, something like that. The date's not important. And made those guitars for decades. And then decades later, finally, Gibson is going after them after decades? After decades? Had you gone after them within the first few years, I might be able to rationalize it and understand that, right? But there's only so many things you can own the rights to. And obviously the legal system, now doing its right job, rectified that situation. And there's a good 10 out of 10 chance once they start making the Explorers and the Flying Vs again, I will buy at least one of them just to support them. And the fact that they won against the big machine, not won against Gibson. They won against the evil private equity firms. They are a destroyer of business, destroyer of businesses. Let's talk about Tobias, right? Look at what Gibson did to that. Took a company that was great and destroyed it. The bottom line is, Gibson, if you're afraid of other companies selling more guitars than you, why don't you just make better guitars? Why don't you make it compelling, both from an economic standpoint and then a quality control standpoint? That's how you win the game, because you've already got the brand. You've already got the brand recognition. All you have to do is make a great guitar and make it consistently. Now, that consistently is a very interesting subject here, because that is something that Gibson has been on and off again since the 1970s. You hear me? Since the 1970s. 80s got a little bit better. 90s took a nosedive after 10 started to address some of that. But the number one complaint of everybody is the lack of quality and attention to detail in Gibson guitars. So ultimately, if you're getting beat, it's because you can't consistently make great products without charging someone to have to go out and spend an insane amount of money on a custom shop guitar. Why is it the only way you know you're going to get a quality guitar is to go through the custom shop? Give me a break. First of all, most of that is just marketing nonsense, in my opinion. Just utterly marketing nonsense. There are some things that are that are a different part of the process, but overall, it's just marketing crap to get a bunch of people to be sucked into saying, I own custom shop. I've got the greatest one ever. And so you think about all the things like that. So I want you to think about all the different brands that Gibson has purchased over the years that have run into the ground. Does Cakewalk ring a bell for some of you who go back to that? I probably get that comment more than anything else. People really love that digital audio workstation, and ultimately Gibson destroyed it. They destroyed it, or should I say the private equity firms destroyed it. Look, here's the thing. You ask me, you want to know why I care about these things? Here's why I care. What we do in these spaces, the places in our homes, in our apartments, or wherever we can find, is an art to all of us. It is an art. We are artists. Some of us are better artists than others, but we're all practicing and striving to be good and passionate about our art. I could care. There's other types of things that you can buy and sell. There's all kinds of things out there that you can buy and sell that don't fit this mold that I'm not going to complain about. But when it comes to this, something I'm deeply passionate about, obviously by the reaction. When you go, I encourage you to go read through all of the comments, not just find the one or two that happen to say what you want them to say, but the truth. You will find that most people view it the way I do. That's why we care. And we hate especially here in America. And this is not a ding on any other country. I have much respect for everybody in this globe. But we Americans can be finicky here. We really can be. And we value American brands. More importantly, you know the reason we value them? Because they employ Americans. We've shipped way too many things overseas, and I'm going to get that in a second because that's what's coming with Mesa Boogie. I guarantee you. Okay, but we care. We care. We want people to be able to have a good job, make a good living, and make an American product. Just like I'm sure other countries are very proud of the products that they make. They should be proud of them. They should be, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's why guys like me and other people like me get passionate. So what are we going to see next for Mesa Boogie? I'm going to here to tell you, okay? I'm pulling out that crystal ball. And for those of you think, oh, he doesn't have any inside information, he doesn't know this, he doesn't know that. I've made a lot of predictions on this channel, and I'm batting 95%. Actually, probably 550, I guess, because 600 is great. But anyway, I've only gotten one wrong. Out of all of them, I've only gotten one wrong. That doesn't mean I'm great or anything, because I'm freaking old. I've been around the block. I'm smart, okay? I have a day job that pays me very well where I'm responsible for hundreds of people's, okay? I work hard, and I take this seriously, and I'm passionate about it, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So yes, do I get bent out of shape when great things developed by great people are destroyed? Yes, and that's what we're going to see with Mesa Boogie. You're going to start to see $700, $800 foreign-made garbage amps that say Mesa Boogie, preying on the younger generation, thinking they're going to be proud that they own a Mesa Boogie, when that amp, the only thing it's got into it that is a Mesa Boogie is an M, an E, an S, and an A, and you can spell the rest. So those of you who own Mesa Boogies, including myself, don't sell them. They're going to go up in value, I guarantee it. Because eventually, Gibson will destroy the entire Mesa Boogie brand. It will go away. It will completely go away. It'll take time. It will. Now, those of you can make the argument, well, Barry, younger people today, they're into the Tonex and they're into all the modelers and the profilers. You know what? So is this old fart right here. I've got a Tonex back over there, and I've got a Kemper sitting back over there, and I play them all the time, and I enjoy them. But any guitar player worth his salt will tell you, as good as those have gotten, and they have gotten very good, it is still nothing like playing a real amp. Nothing like it. The thing that's going to ultimately destroy, in my opinion, guitar amps in general across the board is the fact to make, apparently it seems like, I don't really know if this is the case, but apparently to make a good high quality amplifier, the price is just too high, out of reach for most people. And I would argue that Mesa Boogie's in that same boat. But so is Bogner, and so is Friedman. And for those of you who want to whine and complain, implying that Randall Smith, the only reason he was able to develop because he stole ideas from Soldano and things like that, that's completely and utter nonsense. Now, the rectifier thing he did, but find me a Soldano that sounds like a Mesa Boogie. Find me one. Every amp manufacturer out there went out there copying the designs of other people and doing what with them? Improving them. Actually, Mesa Boogie's Randall Smith started modifying Fender amps. Marshall amps were ultimately started out being modified Fender amps and then went a completely different direction with it. But that's where the origins start. And much respect to those out there that I forgot to mention. Vox is a major impact on the community. I agree with you. Keep in mind, I don't think about what I'm going to say when I get in front of this camera. It just all flows off the top of my head, which is why I kept calling amps instruments. Well, they are an instrument, but you know what I mean, if you happen to watch that video. But you knew what I meant when I was talking about it. And so, it's just, when we look and we see these things happening before our very eyes, it's disheartening. It is to me, and obviously it is to a lot of other people. But the only way that there's any possibility, and whether there is or not, that's a reasonable discussion, but if there's only way there's any possibility of driving any change and putting some accountability ultimately back into the end user, it's social media. Just look at what John Deere went through. Look at what freaking Harley Davidson's going through right now, okay? quickly just turning around, running from everything they were trying to do because they were trying to force feed something to a people that didn't necessarily want it force fed to them. Look, I'm all for live and let live. People can do whatever they want, but don't force it down my throat. That's just my 2 cents. But regardless of that, we have seen this stuff time and time again. And you know, if you notice in Gibson's particular statement that they put out, they're talking about videos and social media. Yes, my video impacted that tremendously. Does that have anything to do with me? Of course not. I am nobody special. I am here to tell you I am nobody special. But what I am is a reasonably intelligent person with an opinion and a platform that I can talk about things. The only reason the video that I did push the envelope is because I happened to probably be first to it, right? That's the only reason. That's it. Nothing special about me, nothing special about this channel when it comes to that. I just happened to be the first to it because I was genuinely pissed off. And I have every right to be. And for those of you crybabies out there that want to cry and cry and cry all day long because you don't like what I have to say, hey, nobody's making you watch this video. Why don't you just flip off to another channel? I really don't care. I don't care. You know, I'm going to say what I'm going to say because it's who I am. And if it offends some of you, suck it up, Buttercup. That's all I got to say. Until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye. Because I'm going. You better believe that.